What's up, Capstone family? This is Ed Drummond coming at you on this Friday, the 10th of September, 2021. And I just wanted to put this out there before the weekend, let you know where we're at this week by way of the market and, what's been going on behind the scenes for, what are we experiencing. This week, I definitely wanted to bring up, gets back to the whole idea that if you take a news article or you take one metric, it's really easy to spin it to make it seem like things are changing or not. When we post all of our data on our site, we post that many graphs because I want to give the when I'm looking at data, I want to see the big, most round picture of what's really happening. I could take any one of those graphs, whether it be active listing counts, whether it be rental rates and what that's looking like. And I could paint a very one-sided, lopsided picture to support whatever narrative I'm wanting to support at the time. My point is, this week on the mortgage side of things, they're talking about the mortgage demand being down 18% year over year. And I keep thinking about last year and where we were at this time last year. And I remember coming in off of COVID, and arguably we had, last year so far was our biggest year that we've had yet at Capstone. We're on track this year as well, but last year was really a bump up because of, after COVID, it just automatically just became like lights out. Everybody was buying. People were worried about where they were going to be living. There were so many things up in the air, and I think that looking at a stat like that and saying, okay, the mortgage demand was down 18% from last year, well, yeah, you'd almost expect that it would be because things were just nuts last year. In addition, this week, I had more calls this week of people telling me that the market was changing than I've had all year. This year alone, it was pretty amazing. Yesterday, I had 4 people call me that were either looking to buy or sell, 4, right? And all people that we had potentially worked with, like we'd worked with in the past. And all of a sudden, it's like the news and what people are hearing is making it seem like the market is changing more than it really is. Being on the front lines and seeing what we're seeing week to week, there's not a lot of change happening. And yes, there are more houses going to market. However, this is the natural cycle of our market in Phoenix. It's a natural bell curve for most properties. Yeah, we've got the luxury side that top loads on the front end of the year. We've got the active adult communities, which really start to get heavy in the November timeframe. That's all good, but for the most part, the whole market goes like this. After July, August, it starts to come down just like it is. And right now, houses that we're putting on the market, we're still getting a ton of looks, ton of interest. Depending on the price point of, where that listing might be is what dictates, how much traffic it's going to get and really how far over people are willing to spend on that property. We had a buyer who called in yesterday asking about a particular property that is not one of our listings. I called the listing agent today, had a real good conversation with her, and she let me know where the offers were coming in, and they're still at a $405,000 asking price. They're still getting offers after 2 days at $415,000, waiving appraisal contingencies. So that's still not going away, right? And waiving appraisal contingencies, they're going to forego whatever the appraisal says. The buyer's basically going to close on it, pay cash for the difference if they have to. But that's the market that we're still seeing. So again, I would just caution that depending on where you're getting your information from when you're thinking about this market, definitely give us a shout. And if you're questioning what you want to do with your property, there's a lot of things that I would challenge you to ask yourself before making a determination whether to sell your house, sell your property, rent your property out, or even acquire more. I think that this market, just like any market, is still a good market to be acquiring as long as the numbers make sense. Finding those deals can be exceptionally challenging, which in this market it totally is. But selling might not be your best play unless it meets the criteria that's specific for you. One of the things I love about real estate investing is that no one can tell you how to do it for you, because each of us have this identity in real estate that is uniquely our own. I have a very formulaic model that I use for acquiring assets, for renting them out, and for honestly not caring about them after they're acquired and they're rented. I do my best to distance myself from them. I do my best to not pay attention to it so I don't have to think about it, because it doesn't help me. But everybody's got their own model. And I love that, because, in the 4 calls that I got yesterday, everybody had their own model. So in this market, if you're interested in figuring out what other models are making sense or where other people are making moves in this market, and you want to have a chat about that, feel free to let me know. I'm always open to a good conversation on that, and I love it. I also wanted to talk about rental assistance. So, hey, there's challenges with tenants not potentially paying rents. By and large, we did not have that problem at Capstone like you might read in the newspapers. We had a very, very, very high rate of tenants paying rent consistently, even through COVID. The thing to think about is there is still, even as of this week, to our understanding, there is still state funding available to those that cannot pay their mortgages, right? Or cannot pay their rents. So there are options for people that can't pay, and legitimately pay their rent. If that's an option for people, if somebody were to come to us and they say, hey, we can't pay our rent, there is a process that we have behind the scenes that says, okay, follow this step, this step, this step, this step. Once they get through that, they get, a yay or a nay. I don't think we saw many nays last year, but there are options out there for those that are struggling financially. That stuff, it doesn't seem like it's going away anytime soon, but I think at the end of the day, if you have questions or concerns about whether or not the tenant's going to be able to pay moving forward, let us know. I do think that in this market, we do need to be increasing rents. We need to be staying with the market because we don't want it to get away from us, because that's not a good position to be putting tenants in the future as well. Let's see. The next thing, determining pricing on rentals. So sometimes in this market, determining a price as to where we're going to rent out a property or where that needs to be can be challenging, because there aren't a lot of comps to support it. A lot of companies like ours, back in the day, like just a quick history on like the MLS, where we get a lot of market data. A lot of companies aren't putting their rentals on the MLS as much as we used to, because we don't have to anymore. Like for us, when we lease out a property, I got Matt, right? We got Matt who will go out there and he'll open the door and build rapport, right, with our prospective tenants. And I know what Matt's going to say. I know how Matt is going to provide service to these individuals. And realistically, there's a consistency that's built there that makes it significantly easier to qualify people, knowing what they've been told, knowing what their expectations are, versus going on the MLS with the property. Now, there are some properties that we still put on the MLS for rent. However, most of our properties are renting in less than 10 days. 10 days is usually that cutoff for me, where I think, okay, if we're not getting movement after 10 days, then maybe our price is too high. We know that the marketing works, right? We follow the same model each and every time with the professional photography, with where it gets syndicated, like all of those things. So it's always about the pricing. If the price isn't right, then yeah, after 10 days, we're going to know that. However, there are always those unique properties, or those that may be priced a little higher than most, or maybe not in a good area for traffic, that are going to need to go to the MLS as well. For us, it's probably, a guess, last year it was like at 20%. I bet that it's almost less than that now. I don't have a good metric for that. Sorry about that. But for I'd say like less than 20% of our houses are actually going on the MLS. And with that, that means that there's not a big pool to really know what's happening in each hyper local market. So a lot of the stuff we're doing right now when we're pricing properties is we're letting the market tell us. So if we're putting something out there, we got 10 days to see what happens. A lot of times we're pricing it on the higher side. We know that the marketing works well. We know that we're going to get tenants through there. We know that people are going to show up, and we can track that. So just little things to think about. If you're looking to put another property on the market, it's always good to test that first just to see what happens. I always joke with the team that it's like, the first time that we get this property, it's like dating. It's going to be, we don't know what it's going to be able to produce first, right? We don't know what it's going to be able to do and how much it's going to get because we don't have a baseline. But from that, realistically, it's like, once we get it rented out for the first time, then we should be good to go and we'll be able to make it happen from that point moving forward. Also, when we get that property over for the first time, that's probably the best that property is going to look within the next 10 years if you have a 10-year plan for holding the property. So, we want to make sure that we're really doing what we can to push that price and get it as competitive as possible without going over to the point where it seems overpriced and we're only getting tenants that are, willing to pay more, which sometimes is not a good situation. Awesome. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope this helps. We are definitely getting things done behind the scenes here. Lots of processes, lots of systems, lots of stuff. It's like every week we're working on something else, which is good. But hopefully by the end of the year, you'll see a lot of those things coming through to fruition, a lot of things positively impacting you. And you'll see it from the team and you'll see it from how things are being run. Cool. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great weekend. If you haven't subscribed to these, please do, and then they'll pop up into your inbox before I have to send you the email to get them directly. Thank you so much. Take care.